Alright, so I want to talk about display building. It's probably one of the things I enjoy the most about the whole hobby of, like going out there, setting up at events, and every time I set up an event, it gets, like one time I don't have lights, sometimes I am in the grass, sometimes I'm in a corner, sometimes, there's a constant change of environment. Sometimes the event gives you a 6-foot table, sometimes you take your 6-foot table. There's so many variables when it comes down to doing events, and since I've been doing them for a while now, I kind of want to share a few tips for those people that are maybe getting into events and just starting. I'm also going to show you how to make something in this video that is like a game changer when it comes down to 6-foot tables. So oftentimes you'll get like maybe a 10-foot area, okay, if you're inside. And that 10-foot area, you can do just about anything you want in a 10-foot area. But in most cases, they want you to have a 6-foot table, okay? Not an 8-foot table. Don't know why, but they usually just give you a 6-foot table or require a 6-foot table. So whatever I do, I always think about modding out 6-foot tables now. Works out really good too. Now this 6-foot table right here, I have set up for demonstration, and I'm getting ready for an event, and I was like, hey, you know what, it'd be kind of cool if I just kind of cover, the makeup of it. Alright, so this is a 3/4 inch black pipe, okay? And a 3/4 inch black pipe has a C-clamp on it, and it's all painted black, and you can see the paint's been nicked and because it's been thrown in the vehicle so many times. I could have welded the C-clamp on, but instead I used a lot of these zip ties. And the reason for that is because not all 6-foot tables are the same height. So I can now move this all up and down, correlating to whatever 6-foot table I have. So I made 4 of these poles, okay, with the C-clamps, and I just can now clamp it to the 6-foot table, and it doesn't mar the table at all. Now the reason I have these 2 on this side and those 2 on the other side is because now I can take a piece of cedar wood. Cedar's really lightweight, and it's a really good building material. I just drilled some holes in it, and that makes a 6-foot shelf that goes across, connected with poles on the other side, just like this one. What keeps it stabilized is this foot. So there's another piece of cedar with holes drilled in it, and all it does is like the pipe slides into the hole. If I'm at an event that's out in the grass, I don't need this. I can just put this into the grass. That shelf I was talking about earlier, it is hooked with 2 clips. And those clips can go up and down, correlating to how high you want the shelf, depending on the event. Generally, you don't want the shelf too high, because what you're going to be doing is, if you're in the back of this thing, you don't want to look past the shelf while talking to the client. And another thing, you don't want this shelf too low, because if your stuff is on the table, you can't see if people are doing nefarious things with your stuff. So you have to kind of gauge this shelf per event, depending on where you're at. But it does slide up and down quite easy. So what I'm going to do also is show you these things. These are my packaging tables. They are really handy at events. And you can use one for a packaging and one for like a checkout. Because you don't want to do that stuff on this table. And that's what I used to do. I used to provide space behind here, and I would have a huge hot mess. But what I needed was a table that I could, like, let's say a client didn't like this cord and they wanted a chain. Well, I can do that at an event pretty easy, but I need a space to work at. So that's my little 2-foot working area. I can have my laptop on the other side, and I can do, you know, like check out things with a credit card. But pretty much those have been a game changer. They also work really well if you want to mount them over here during drinking events, because they can be mounted in the side, they can be mounted on the front, and they don't break the 6-foot rule. It's still a 6-foot table. I just happen to have 2 little modules that clamp onto the table, and yeah, I can go far back as I want. Lighting. So many times have I been in like a dark event. Get yourself a LED shop light, but make sure it's a dimmable variation. I'm going to be replacing this soon with a dimmable one. It's just too bright, and there's dimmable lights, and then there's dimmable with different Kelvin lights. So you can have 2-3 choices. They're on Amazon. They allow you to switch between like 55K, 6,000, and 2,700K lighting. And man, does that make such a big difference, because you kind of match the lighting to the event. Does that make sense? And in other words, like this thing right here is so bright. I think this one is like 6,500. When you're going to look at something, you can almost feel the brightness. It washes everything out when it comes down to the colors are beautiful. But if you happen to look up at the light at any one time, you're done. So try to get one that dims a little bit. Just a tip. So for me, I really like suitcases because I can just carry all my suitcases into the event and line them up and then set it up afterwards. I've always had the suitcase cases. I think I've made videos on how to make these too. But some of the things that I've changed since those videos is this old packing stuff is amazing. Labeling your packaging, like this is C suitcase. So what I have is C that comes out. I now have my earrings that I can just flip around. Bam, that's done. And now I got these little C modules. They sit in here. I can just take these off. And this can be all stored underneath the table. And then when I'm done with the event, I could just flip this around, go like that. Put my C padding back on. And then close up shop. And that's it. And then you can shake that suitcase, that's all you want. But that padding keeps everything in place. Cigar boxes make amazing little displays that are easy to store in bigger suitcases. So for example, these are for your hair, and I want to display them. I just put them in these little grooves. I got a little setup. I'm going to put something back here, I don't know what yet. That's a quick way, again, to package up shop. Done. And I'll put that in a larger suitcase. Micro displays. This little foot right here is just a block of wood that you take your table saw and angle the blade and cut it. But then you can take, these are necklace backers, that could fit in these, and then I can put them anywhere I want. Those are sweet. They're all made out of cedar, and you can make up variations of those to hold bigger products. I burn the wood just to make it look a little bit more used and authentic. Best thing you can ever buy is one of these for events. It's got a USB on it. So what that allows you to do is charge all your phones and all your credit card readers. I've had this thing last through a 4-day event, and it didn't die once. It's beautiful. So, Stanley Jumpit. They're very inexpensive. I've never jumped a car with it, but it sure the heck can charge a phone and a laptop and everything else that you plug into this thing. That's for sure. Magnets are probably the best hack. So what you can do is like now have things that attach to the metal poles, like these magnets. I just took the hooks off. There's usually a hook, kind of looks like this. You can get these on Amazon. They're really cheap. You can buy a whole bunch of them for like $10. And all I did was cut this off a little bit higher. You can unscrew it, but what I want to do is I cut it right at the base and then drilled a hole into, you can use dowel rods. I use tree stumps, and that way these just attract to that pole. And now I have a way of storing lots and lots of crystal necklaces and stuff like that. So cords used to get really tangled. And here's that magnet. And what you do, these are all the necklaces, you just twist, 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 wrap, and wrap your necklaces around it. And now nothing gets tangled. The ammo can. Heat lids at the bottom there. Just like that. And it just goes up against the wall. And you can store all of them in there. So the last thing I want to mention is like, and I think this is outside of display, but something you should probably consider is a various price point. I don't struggle at all with sales, and what I do is I have a variance price point, meaning that I have things for kids, I have things for people that can't afford jewelry, I have higher priced stuff that are in cases. I have kind of like a top row that, you know, has a variance price. But, you know, like I have just necklaces for 10 or 15 bucks. And sometimes when I want to get rid of like older rings, I might even have a sale that goes down to $8 just for an event, just for a sale. Who cares? Because you're just going to keep getting a bunch of this stuff, and the people that buy will return, because you got to remember one thing: crystals are addicting. And if you make crystal stuff, you know that is to be true, because you probably have a hoard that you keep for yourself. No matter how hard you try to hide that away from society, you'll have the hoard of crystals that you're like, oh, this one's really cool, I'm just going to keep this one for myself. Yeah, but yeah, it's the same goes for your client too. You know, like when you go to sell something, like as a crystal is concerned, you can sell them like a $5 or $10 ring, and the next event, guess what they're at? They're at a 30 or 40, and the next event they want like the 90 to $100 one because they now want an opal, and they know what an opal is. So they're just called returning customers. So various price points. Don't be afraid of that. Don't think that everything that you sell has to be like $100. You know, think of the little kids when they first get their first necklace. They're gonna drag their parents to that event like no other because they got the necklace the one time, and they're gonna be at that event as a religion every year because the little Jimmy got a necklace that one year. It's awesome. The last tip before I say goodbye is have a mirror. I know, right? It's such a low-key hack. But if you forget this thing, you'll know it. Have a mirror. Your clients are always going to ask for, hey, can I see myself in the mirror? Have a mirror. Have 2 mirrors. All right. Well, this has been fun. I hope you enjoyed. As mentioned, I'm going to show you how I made these tables, as part of this video. Alright, so this is a 4-foot table, and I'm going to show you the 6-foot, 2-foot hack. Okay? At an event, it doesn't matter how far back you go, as long as you're within a 10-foot area. So what you do is you take a 4-foot table, and 4-foot tables, you can buy them at Walmart. They're really cheap. Now, if you go to buy a 2-foot table, they're very expensive. They're like $80 for some reason. I have no idea why. Another thing is you want to be able to add it to a 6-foot table. Any 6-foot table. Alright? Because the event could give you a table and not let you have a table. So you have to have something that fits onto their tables. What you do is you take a standard 4-foot table that matches a relatively, like 26 to 29 inches tall. Okay? Then you just drill this little thing out right here, this rivet, and what you're going to be left with is 2 2-foot tables with expandable legs that I'm going to show you how to convert it so it can hook onto another table. That way you have a little bit more space at a 6-foot event. Once you take your table apart, you just need to make a piece of wood. In this case, I'm not going to use cedar because it needs to be a little bit stronger. Just use plywood and cut a shape that fits in between the brackets like that. It doesn't have to be neat because this actually goes underneath the table. Okay, and you'll need 2 of those because you got 2 tables. Alright, now you just need some finishing washers. And they're kind of like washers with like a little dent in them so that you can use screws and they'll sit in that dent. And I like these coarse thread ones, so anything that's really coarse thread. But don't be picky. Just think about, you got to put a piece of fabric over the top of this, and you don't want anything getting snagged. So these might help. If you use just a standard washer, the chances are this thing's just going to sit up and snag your fabric all the time. So, and you can even go like this too. You can go, washer on top, and then just like that. Alright, so the little jig looks like this. Okay, make sure that you don't have to do this, but if you have people helping you a lot, make sure they can carry this. So I just put a couple holes here to grab it. And notice that the legs fold in, so it still maintains its folding capabilities. And this is just going to get screwed onto that using these. I did find some washers with a little groove in them. Pretty sweet, right? Alright, so there we go. The thing's just C-clamps. These are specially made C-clamps, but you can use normal ones. These have a little TIG weld bar for another attachment thing that I made a long time ago that I don't use. But all you do now is C-clamp it, so it kind of looks like this at the bottom. I would sand these edges. But very sturdy. I could put tons of weight on this. In fact, I think that's probably the sturdiest part of the table now. Very cool. And here's a good look at the other side, just in case you're wondering. So you notice the legs fit down in there. I still have access to its folding capabilities. I still have access to this handle too. Or these. Good. Awesome. And this is what the whole thing looks like. So basically the table is mounted in the back, the two tables. You're in the back as a vendor. You have two now side tables that are 2 foot, and you can use those for either displaying products or packaging. What was nice is on this design was the same bar that goes up also held the wood. So now I don't have to get another C-clamp. The C-clamp acts as for both of these. The sand does. And if I don't want the other side, I just don't have it. But at least I have the option. Very sturdy. Oh, it's a 6 foot, 2 foot hack. Alright, if you like this video and you want to learn more about all this stuff and how it was made and what it is all about, I do have a school now for beginners and advanced users in electroforming, and it is located in the link below. I will be releasing like free content and then having this video at the very end to kind of support the school. It's a more organized level of education. It's not like a YouTube video where I just grant you a bunch of tips and tricks and say good luck. It's more of a scaffolded type of lesson thing that anybody can learn from. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in signing up for the school, click the link below. Thank you.